Meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. on January 22nd, 2020. Happy New Year, everybody. I haven't seen you guys in a while, some of you. I hope you had a good holiday. So we had two sets of minutes to review, November and December. I think most of us sent changes to Beth. There was only one change that we need to just accept the changes in November minutes. Is that correct? December minutes. Okay. Do I have a motion to accept November's minutes as written?
I make a motion to accept the November minutes as written.
Any second?
I second that motion, please.
I never get to do it, you guys
Oh,
are
sorry.
doing this. It's okay.
Okay.
There's December's minutes yet. You
Oh,
jumped.
I'm so happy.
Yes.
You can do December.
All right. All in favor for November's minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Okay. And the December minutes with a minor change on which minutes that we approved, which were the October minutes. So
Like what
if
one is it?
we all agree to accept those changes, just need a motion for that.
I make a motion to accept the changes that we've asked for in the December meeting. Minutes,
Minutes.
sorry.
Okay. Any second?
Second?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Okay. Beth sent around. Did you email out some bills to us?
Yeah, because of December having a holiday or two in it.
Yeah.
We only ended up, and then I think Eileen was out sick, so we did 2 warrants out of the 4 weeks, warrant 25 and 27. So those are sort of archived for you to just look at, those 2 top sheets, and then whatever we're up to, 28 or 29, is going around in that folder for signatures. There's, I think, 3 things that look a little different. One is a $870 bill for Biblioteca. We are still finishing the tagging process, the RFID tags for the books in the nonfiction collection, and I think young adult nonfiction and maybe one other collection. And we ran out. Plus, we buy new books all the time, so I had to buy 3 rolls of tags. So that's in there. We are almost out of library cards. And I had a request from staff to purchase library cards in sets. So instead of offering a key tag or a full-size card, we can give patrons both with the same number on them. So they can have one on their keychain, one in their wallet. They can also put it on their phone, but it'll be like a set, which is how a lot of libraries are doing it
I
now.
like that because I inquired about that at a library recently and they said, no, only one.
So
I love it.
we can get 1,000 for like $250, which is a really good price. And we really need them. And we anticipate we're going to have a lot more people wanting cards in about a year. So we're going to go ahead and order a bunch now. And I asked Aaron Wood, who did the vote poster when we were pushing our library vote. It was the library with like a blue and yellow starburst in the background to edit the poster and take out the vote and take out the Grafton, making Grafton great tagline because the town's not using Grafton is great anymore. So there's a $25 fee for him to do an edit to that. And then there was one other thing. What was the other thing I said was new? $25. So we're just paying that out of our marketing budget. And the tags are part of actually the maintenance budget because it's maintenance of the collection. So it's all covered under the budget. And there might be one more thing interesting. Marilyn Wilcox is applying for paralibrarian certification, which is just it's a certificate program that puts together all her education and professional development. Because she doesn't have a master's degree in library science, but wants a little bit more recognition. We made her senior librarian. So there's a $20 fee to the Massachusetts Library Association that we're paying for out of our dues budget. So everything else is typical vendors, library supplies from Demco, books and materials from Ingram, and music and DVDs and audio from Midwest Tape. Nothing else unusual for this month.
So is the library cards unbudgeted?
So it's considered office supply.
Yeah.
So it'll come out of the office supply line, and because I really don't know what next year's budget is going to look like,
Yeah.
and I have $2,000 left in that account, we're just going to purchase it out of that line. I don't need money from state aid for that. And I think it falls under office supply very easily. I guess we could say marketing, but I'd rather leave the marketing budget for incentives for summer reading program and National Night Out, and school visits, that kind of thing,
Okay.
newspaper stuff.
So we don't need to vote to approve the bills.
to vote to approve the two warrants, 25 and 27, that I signed in the interim from our December meeting to tonight,
Okay.
please.
I make a motion to accept the two warrants that Beth had signed.
And I second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. Okay, MPLCP Building Program Grant.
So this is just for us to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything that's clipped together is old. You've already seen it. So. Thanks, Dana. Construction is continuing with the demolition part of the old library. If you've driven by, you've noticed the stack box is gone. Came down near the middle of December, end of December. The most recent thing that they've done is rip up all the rugs and the cork floorboard in the first and second floors. And they took apart the old circulation desk, which we discovered, even though it was ordered from a company called Library Bureau, it's actually made of plywood with a veneer on it, so it's not real wood or anything
Goodness.
fancy or worth saving. But we did take off the top portion, thinking that we could use it somewhere in the new building if we cleaned it up a little bit, either as a tabletop maybe, or part of a panel, or so we're trying to salvage a piece of it, but it's not workable at all either as a desk. And because it's not, again, it's not real wood, it's not it's really actually not worth anything.
Wait a minute, so can you start from the
Yeah.
beginning? I missed the very
You're
first-
really going
I-
fast.
I was-
You're
I was
chewing gum, you
crunching
should
on
go
that.
into here.
I can't go fast too, so
Yeah,
slow down.
was it the desk?
The circulation
Okay,
desk that you
okay.
see as you walk in
Yeah,
the
yeah. I'm not
entrance from the
surprised,
common.
Beth. I'm not surprised.
I'm
It's there so
surprised and
long.
disappointed,
I'm really
actually,
surprised.
because it's,
Yeah,
Really?
Looks rather
Yeah,
solid.
it looks
It
solid.
really
Yeah, but
did.
I guess they're good.
Plywood that
yeah.
made then was better than probably
it's
wood.
it's more like a pressed board, but it's
Yeah,
not
but
like,
still,
it's not
yeah.
oak or mahogany
wonder how
or
old it is.
pine
You don't know,
even.
right?
Well, it's original to the building, because it's in the original
is?
plan.
It's old
Yeah,
pressed board.
1927.
Guess.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Strong to me.
Yeah, it has a little, not quite a roll top piece, but like a bin, right, with a piece and a cover that we could slide back and forth. But it was really fragile, so they left it open all the time. But the piece that made it a bin is taped onto the desk because it fell apart a long time ago. And it used to be open on both sides, but my understanding is a former Board of Selectmen member actually filled in one of the entrance exit pieces of the desk
Yeah.
to extend it so that we could add a second computer
interesting.
or a second staff station a long time ago. So that part is not also, unfortunately, it is not a unique piece of library history or furniture.
Oh.
So we'll have
But-
to replace it?
Well, the intent for that space was for it to become a reading room again,
Yeah,
and to refurbish the round tables and a rectangular one, if we do find the old rectangular one that was in there, and all those Windsor style chairs, and then to add in new seating that was appropriate to the character of the room, kind of at both ends, and to not have a staff desk necessarily in that space, but a self-check and a mobile workstation that we could bring in and out of the room. And then Heidi's space is like just around the corner with an eye shot, a visual of the room, so that we still have visual control of it without having a staff person sitting in there all the time. And then her office is adjacent, and mine, and I think the administrative office has windows that sort of look down into that space.
okay.
Yeah. But it's not a staff space.
So we'll be getting more room out of it with that desk being gone.
Not just the desk, but like the computer carols won't be in there, and the magazine racks won't be
Oh,
in there.
right.
So it's going to have the built-ins all the way around, and a self-check station by the door, and the gates, so that if someone doesn't check out a book and they walk out, alarms will go off. That's part of the RFID tagging that we're doing. And then seating for people to read graphic novels, magazines, newspapers. It'll be that, or to sit and study, and it'll
What
be a
area is
quieter
this that you
space.
described?
The main reading room with the vaulted,
Oh, yeah.
barrel vaulted ceiling. Yeah.
So, just real quick about the RFID tags. They're not set to alarm at the moment.
Technically, I don't know if we have to charge them or not. They
Yeah.
are ready to be used in that way.
Neat.
So we don't have to touch any books again. So the tags that we picked were so that we would only have to do one type of tagging.
Yeah,
So that when we added security gates with the construction project,
I see.
I mean, it could be that we have to scan everything, but I think it's more that they're on the shelf. When you either check them out, they get desensitized, or you check them out with a person, we desensitize them. So that's not going to set off the alarm.
Okay, I just didn't know if that,
Yeah.
if that was in place yet, but not.
Technically, yes, but we don't have the security gates or the desensitizer piece.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanders
So it's
off with one by accident, because that's easy to do, you might not be thinking about
Yeah.
it.
Or-
And we're not doing something really sophisticated in terms of we can now get a map of Grafton and see where all those tags are. Like it does not work like that at all. People at home, don't worry. But what it can do is
that
it can tell you, because the tags are stored into our library catalog. So there's a wand that you can buy and you can attach it to a laptop or a tablet and you can walk to the stacks and you can wave your wand down the stack and it'll read the tags and then show you the information in terms of call number and book title, checked in, checked out. And there's a gap. There should be a book between this book and that book, and it's not here.
I see.
So that's just quick, when the last time it was checked out. So it's quick collection development. Oh, that hasn't been out in 10 years, and it's 15 years old, and it's nonfiction, and it's medical. Maybe we should replace that. Or pull it right now and read it. So
What is that called again?
weeding, it's collection development, really. It's
I
a,
mean,
it's a
the
wand.
system, wow.
It's part of the RFID. It's software that's from 3M. We probably would have to purchase a license for it, and we have to buy the equipment.
Yep.
But down the line, it's so much less time intensive, and it means that you're not pulling a cart of books off the shelf, bringing it to your computer and sitting down, and then getting interrupted by patrons and other staff. You're out in the stacks doing the work, and it's much quicker. So it's really efficient.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the direction we're heading.
Almost done, I heard, with RFID tagging.
Almost right down. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I did want to tell you more about the grant, but we have a guest, so
Yes.
you want to go?
We have a guest.
Yeah.
Two guests.
Yeah, so we can come back to
Yeah.
that item,
Okay.
because I'd like to hear more about the grant too. So Allison, if you'd like to come and just introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're at the same level as everybody, it's
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
It's like the
I
round
think
table.
I've met all of you.
Yes.
I think at some point, yeah.
I'm Allison Piccone, and I'm happy to be a library assistant. Started January 13th.
Oh, wow.
Been substituting for a year, and if you have any questions.
Well, we're very happy to have you on board.
happy to
Thank
have
you.
You?
Yes.
Welcome.
Welcome
Thank
aboard.
Are you native to Grafton?
No, but we've been in Grafton since 1997.
Wow, so a lot
That's a
longer
long time.
That's
Yeah.
new.
than most of
That's-
us, yeah. Excellent. Any kids?
2 kids. One's in college, freshman, and our son is a junior in high school at the Grafton High School.
Exciting
wow.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Allison has a wonderful customer service ethic. She's really friendly and really patient. Sometimes I see her sitting one-on-one with a patron at the computer, helping them with what research, resume, whatever. And it's just a wonderful addition to our team. We're really happy to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you for stopping in.
She's a very talented artist, if you don't know. She's
This is also
extraordinary.
true.
Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Get to work.
Do you know all of our names?
Yes.
All right.
We're not quizzing.
We won't make you say that.
That's not a quiz, yeah.
No, Karen,
Oh,
Aaron,
Yes.
Beth, Daniela,
Yes. Yep.
Dana.
Yes.
oh my
Wow.
gosh, that is
Flying
very
colors
impressive.
Is someone not here though?
Yeah.
Yes.
Martina is,
Okay.
yeah, and Doug. They're both traveling.
And I haven't met those two.
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
right.
Very good.
Welcome. Thank you for coming by.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for having me.
Hi.
It is very short.
Yeah.
Back to work.
Back to
She's
work.
scheduled for
I
Wednesday
am.
night. So
Yeah.
yes,
Signed to come in and see us.
thank
All
you.
right, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for
Bye.
stopping by.
Okay.
Yes.
She made me a beautiful picture for our wedding.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Okay.
Hi.
Great. So we talked about RFID tagging.
Yeah. And the other piece of the building program and grant, building committee met the 6th.
If you'd like to hear at least the
Yeah, you're
end of
welcome.
this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, please.
I think everybody's aware. There was some soil contamination with petroleum, both from the underground oil tank from when we had oil heat and from a gas station at the other end of the property. And we've been working for a few weeks on the plan to remediate and remove all of that soil. And the construction company and OPM and Clerk of the Works, have figured out which, they did a grid pattern basically. They know which sections are contaminated to which level. Some of it is actually not that bad and can be moved to a place that's okay. And then there's 2 other levels where soil is going to 2 other different landfills. So they're working on the plan to start excavating all of that, and then they'll excavate and they'll test again, and they'll keep excavating if they need to. And when the soil, they have no more contaminants, then they have to start to look at footings, which is how stable the mix of the soil is to hold up the pillars, basically, that are the foundation of the building. And then if that's still not good, they'll dig down until they get to good soil. And they may have to bring in new soil that has whatever mix of pellet and pebble and dirt and whatever to make it stable. Because we not only have to hold the building, we also have to hold all the books and furniture and people. So that's a whole process. But as they've been going through this process and they figure out what they're doing with all the dirt, which is great, they also say it's not as contaminated as they thought, which is really great news. They've also found that groundwater is contaminated. So then there's a whole process for what to do when you have contaminated groundwater, and they basically have to put in a tank with a series of pumps and filters, so that as they're digging and water's coming up and they need to pump out water, it's getting filtered and cleaned before it gets released into the sewer system.
Okay.
So they've got they're working on a plan for that has to be approved by either Mass Department of DEP, as well as EPA, and that process can take a little bit of time, for them to review the plan and approve it. So there's potential for us to be in a holding pattern for anywhere from a week to a month. They think that right now, because it's a quiet time at the state and federal level for these kinds of projects, because it's winter and no one's doing construction, that it'll actually get moved along really quickly. So worst case scenario is we may lose some time while we're waiting for results in the plan to be put into place. But there's still little projects that they can be working on. And worst case scenario is they would halt the project for a month or 2, so that we're not paying the company to be sitting doing nothing, and they can go do other work and come back.
Right.
But it sounds unlikely, actually, that will have to happen. So yeah, kind of a holding pattern right now. But it's nothing insurmountable. I don't have any costs associated with it at this time. Yeah, and they knew that there was going to be an expense for excavation beyond what they had anticipated, simply because of the depth of unsuitables, which range from 6 feet to 11 feet. So they already knew they would have to do extra excavation. Like, it's not 6 feet across the board. They knew they would have to do extra excavation, so we already got a change order for some of that work.
Okay.
And because construction was low coming in, like, I can't even say we're over budget. Like,
That's good.
we're in good shape. Yeah.
So do they hire geologists that do all that work, or do they have those people
They
on
have,
staff?
all kinds of experts they're bringing
Oh my
in.
gosh,
Yeah.
that's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, they're taking it seriously. They're doing all the right paperwork and all the right things.
Well, I mean, just to make sure that the soil is sound.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize they did that.
Yeah.
The EPA's or what is it called? Massachusetts EPA.
Yeah, it's Department of Environmental Protection, I think, the DEP.
They're
Yeah.
they're-
And they work together, DEP and EPA. Yeah. So we're just waiting for more news. And then building committee meets again at the first Monday of February. I think that's the 4th. I could be wrong. 3rd or 4th. And I think at that time I'm going to be asking to put together a subcommittee of people who are interested in like the interior design and furniture picking piece, because one of the things we can do while we're waiting for construction to move forward is start picking out those things so that we're ready to go. It takes time to fabricate and order, even if you're getting the furniture like off the rack that's not handmade. There's still a process and a wait time for it. So we want to be ready to hit the ground running with some of those things. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Beth. That was a very informative update. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm very impressed at the level of your knowledge, because it almost
too.
seems like you're like a representative of the construction company that we have here in our midst. that was really detailed.
So, my mom worked in what's called Section 10 specialties, and they're construction, so they supplied flagpoles and kitchenettes and toilet accessories like the partitions. And I worked for a company for a long time in high school and college, so, yeah. And then I've lived through a renovation at the Haverhill Public Library, too. So,
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
I have a little bit.
Well, okay. It's not your first rodeo, but
Not,
still
no.
very nice to have you on board with this process.
I guess I know what questions to ask.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a budget update?
I don't think I printed one. No, I can pull up my spreadsheet.
Yeah, could you
though.
please?
Hang on, yeah. This is our expense ledger. So it at least will show percentages for where we're at for the year. So this is January, right? So the fiscal year ends in June. Maybe I can make this a little smaller. So we should be around 50% spent by this point. And, you know, some categories are over, some are under, and I feel like I kind of explain every month, like, yeah, energy's about where it should be. The water bill is high, but we'll probably only have one more bill in this fiscal year because it's a quarterly expense. Repair and maintenance is a little under. Remember, because we had an old building, we always put in a 20% or so contingency for repair and maintenance, and that's everything from buying toilet paper and cleaner to RFID tags and book mending supplies, to snow shovels and ice melt and calling the plumber, and all of that is building and maintenance. Contracted services always gets eaten up right away because that's the CW Mars bill to have access to the catalog and the delivery service and some databases. So that's a big chunk of that money. Rentals and leases is for our copier and for our post office box, and that's really low. And I think it's because we're taking in enough money from printing that we've been able to pay our copier lease out of that revolving account. So that gives us just a little bit of a cushion, which is great because it's a bottom line budget. Professional and technical is spent, I think I had budgeted $400, spent $500 on a presenter. Let me go up. And then because, again, it's a bottom line budget, so I just reallocated to make it balanced to 100%, and I'm not anticipating spending anything else out of that. That's professional development. If we hired a new staff who needed a doctor's visit to start work, that's where that money could come out of, but we're good. Marketing is low for the moment, which is good. Conference and seminar fees, I'm about to, I think on the next week's warrant, we'll have the bill from Sarah and Allison's professional development excursion to LeakyCon, where they went to the Harry Potter conference to look for literacy-related ideas. That actually was the foundation of the winter reading program that they're doing. So there's going to be some bills for that coming in. I asked if I could go to the Public Library Association, and that request was denied, but there's a virtual conference. So I might do that instead of traveling to Nashville.
Who denied that?
Tim,
He didn't want you out of the office?
in light of the budget situation, it does not look good to travel to
Okay,
conference.
okay, that makes sense.
We
just
want to be
wondered.
frugal with our money.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement, I
Yeah.
just wondered.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was something that you really wanted to do and we
Well,
weren't in such tight situations, you could come to the
Yeah.
board.
And I could also talk to him about going on my own expense and
Yeah,
writing it off. But I'm going to be traveling to Chicago this summer for the research, a research institute that's put on by a small libraries organization. But I was granted a full scholarship
grant.
for that.
Yeah.
To go study statistics and data and how we present it. And because I do the infographics, and it's a huge interest of mine and something that I can bring back, not just to my own department, but town-wide, that's approved. It's not, again, it'll cost, but it'll get reimbursed, so.
that's great.
Yeah. Communications is mostly postage, so that's on par. Remember that when we do passports, that money comes out of our gift account, so that we can get reimbursed for that, because often the staff are mailing it themselves. So the passport fee that we take in of $35 covers the postage, $7 and change, and then we make a profit on that stays in the gift account for the library. Office supplies, we're at 58%. The library cards will come out of that. Educational materials, the book budget is about 60% spent, which is pretty good. And then there's a breakdown by department. It looks like adult fiction could be spending a little more money. Adult nonfiction, that's me. Should rein it in a little bit. Databases we buy once a year, so it's appropriate to be 75% at this point. I think the next big bill is going to be the renewal for Ancestry.com and Heritage Quests, which are a paired database. I had allocated more for ebooks, but because the Hoopla fees, which is a kind of a database, but it's still e-digital materials, so I shifted the allocation in that to make it balance a little bit better. Magazines, we've put in our major magazine order for the year, but sometimes we pick up things here and there, or they're not provided by the vendor, because we basically order everything all at once. We're not filling out lots of little carts.
Yeah.
And we often have to pay an institutional rate too for some of those things. So we go through a vendor to do that. That gives us a really good discount. So the things that are still going to be taken out of here are like the Boston Globe subscription and New York Times and that sort of thing. Travel is mileage. We are mostly mileage, but also anything out of state, like if you're flying somewhere. And the meals and tolls and all that that's associated with it. We do get the government rate for mileage, and we are heavily encouraged to use the cars that the town owns. We have sort of two issues. One is that staff are not always necessarily, they're not comfortable driving cars that they're not familiar with, which sort of gets a little bit of an eye roll. But also we have staff who live far away. I mean, Heidi and I and Sarah, so it doesn't make sense to drive to Grafton in our own vehicle, leave our vehicle, take the town one where you might be going to Rhode Island or back to Boston for a program or meeting, or out to the western part of the state. And then so usually when I ask if we can use our own, he says yes, but they really want to be using just the town
They probably
vehicles.
smoke in it too.
Do they?
I'm sure there may be some people
Oh,
that
no,
smoke
I
in
don't
it
think
too.
that.
So.
I don't think they're not allowed.
I don't think they would.
Programming is at 45% overall, which is actually low because we usually spend a lot of that right up front in the summer. I have warned staff that as we look at the FY21 budget, that we're going to meet in March with Finance Committee to talk about, that I only have leeway to cut personnel, which I don't want to, and programming and office supplies. So they should go into their summer reading program planning to do everything themselves and not hire any performers for next year. Or to bring requests, the Friends are already paying for some things, or to bring requests to here for state aid, money to be used for it. But we already have a lot of ideas for things we can do. It's a fairy tale theme. So that's an area that, we're looking at. If we need to make cuts, that's where we'll have to cut with programming. And then equipment, we have some money left in case we need a printer or something kind of at the last minute before the end of the year. I think we bought a computer with it. I still haven't purchased my own laptop that you approved money for because I don't have time to sit and do the research to figure out what to buy. I just
Well, I can help
busy
you
running
with
the
that.
library. I know, you gave me some great suggestions. I just haven't had time
Well-
to go back to one of them.
Yeah.
How long is
It's been like 3 months now.
Well, I can make you a recommendation rather than just telling you what, what would be good. I can actually give you something that might be
Well,
appropriate.
Lenovo Windows 10 gig of hard drive space.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist.
Maybe not where
I'll
you're,
send you a
maybe
link.
not where you're looking, but sure.
Why couldn't you use, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
If you want my help.
I want someone to just, here, we're buying you this. Be quiet. There you
Yeah.
go. Just don't.
Yep.
Aaron
Anyway.
fun doing that.
Yeah.
So overall, like I said, some categories are over, some are under. We're just in fine shape overall for the year. I am always concerned that if there's a lot of storms, that sometimes February or March we'll get a budget freeze because they'll have overspent on the snow and ice budget. But so far, we seem to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have asked staff to start thinking about, if you need to replenish your craft supplies, like February's the time to do it, beginning of February, to last for the next full year. So we don't lose any money. Anyway. And our goal every year, of course, is to spend in every single category, but we also have to meet the 15% requirement by the state, that 15% of the budget is spent on library materials, which is the magazine, newspaper, and they call it the book budget. It's educational materials. So it encompasses everything from databases to maps to a globe to the blocks that we have available for kids to use in the library, encyclopedias that might not circulate, ebooks, that's all educational material. The robots, programmable robots, all of that is educational. Sewing machine, anything that gets checked out. Yeah. I've had a request for cake pans multiple times, so I'm thinking about buying cake pans to circulate. Is our next hot commodity. Yeah. A lot of libraries are doing
Particular
it.
size?
So the idea is maybe your kid wants a cake shaped like Beauty from Beauty and the Beast, and for you to go out and spend $30 on a dress-shaped form that you can stick a Barbie doll into. You're not going to do that for one time, but the library can buy it and circulate it to 10 or 20 people in a year.
Great idea.
Spider-Man, things that are Wilson cake pans. Yeah. Let's see.
Okay.
We do have a dishwasher now, so. That's the budget update.
Thank you, Beth.
You're welcome.
All right, where are we on the agenda?
Let's
Um,
project updates, capital campaign.
Okay. Bye, Allison.
Violet.
Bye, Allison.
Capital campaign update.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to report because I'm waiting for renderings, but I have one. What happened is, it's taking them a while to do them. But let me show you, I'm working on the copy, but I wanted to show you what it started out really looking horrendous. And I was gonna see if I could find out what it started out with. We had a lot of, I don't wanna share these. So, the other illustrations we had were really beautiful. So what happened is we basically have gotten the group, the DRA architects, their rendering group to do some illustrations. So, and I've actually, told them what I need. I want it needs to look really good. It needs to look realistic. I want, it's gotta look beautiful. So what they're doing is they work on it, then I look at it and I say, can we do X, Y, Z, and then they do it. So I was really happy because this is what we ended up getting now.
Much better.
Oh.
Because really, we had beautiful shots before, and we need a beauty shot, so that's gonna be our cover. So they're gonna work on, I sent them the brochure, and they're gonna give us renderings on for each illustration that we had, and then it's ours, we own it, it's gonna be part of the capital expenses, but what'll be good with that is then everything will look the same, and once we get this all done, then we'll make posters, we'll figure out everything the library needs. And then what I also realized as I was talking to people, and people are looking at the old poster that's up there, there's a lot of questions. People don't really understand like what kind of material it goes into, and I know I don't even have a thorough idea, so I'm gonna ask Doug if he can help us with that, like FAQs, because I was trying to explain to one person, I was explaining like how we are using less brick, and that was a cost issue.
Yeah.
But also we found a great substitute, and I explained to them, if you look at the Grafton Townhouse, it's that material that's at the back of the building. It's really nice. And this person, said, so you're doing what they're doing. I'm like, no, it's just that's an example of the material. Then I just realized we need to have thorough explanation so people know. So I'm working on it.
Explanation in what regard?
I'd like to know like what's the building made of? What's the brick? What's that over there? What's just so.
I can find out what the brick is.
Okay. I mean, Doug can tell me too, but I'm just saying we need to know. And like before, when he had it, they had like, I wanted to look more realistic. They had like pea grass and it looked gross. And this time they put people in it, and there were some things that weren't really quite right, so they fixed it. So
Is it something you can share with the trustees?
I can, but I really don't want it spread out a lot. I don't
Yeah.
want it displayed anywhere.
Got it.
I can share it, but I don't want it displayed.
Yeah, no worries.
And the brochure, once we get we're having the one brochure that we're doing is basically to take out to a meeting.
Yes.
And you don't send it out. I'm gonna do a smaller little one that's gonna have some information.
Yep.
Because what we wanna do is get one-on-one meetings. That's how we'll be successful. So, I just wanna make sure that we all understand, all of us, all the trustees, because, when we're walking around the library, around town, we're really the ambassadors of the library, so we just need to understand, because I quickly found out that I really didn't, and with me trying to explain it, it wasn't very successful, though it seemed easy to me. It
Yeah.
wasn't to the individual, because not everybody knows about knows about construction. And they might think, it's a town building, so you're trying to do the same thing. No, we're not. It's just that we know that's successful and people liked it, right?
Yeah.
And that's like probably one of the newest materials around that's on the Grafton Townhouse. It's beautiful, the back. I mean, it's a couple years old.
love
If
the
you wouldn't
color.
know it. It looks great.
Actually, I really.
It looks like it's real clapboard, but it isn't.
Yeah.
So it's not making it look, it's making it look nice. Even though we had to save some expenses, it didn't really damage the look of the building. So, that's what I've been working on. I've been told we're gonna get these done within the next, by next week. So, I mean, this just gives you an example. I mean, this was like, it wasn't realistic. We want it to look the way it looks.
Yep.
So, you get it.
Yeah.
And that's just took me a while to be able to figure out how to do that, and these were very flat. So
Yeah.
I was gonna use these, but not.
Well, thank you for being so persistent.
So I'm sorry, but it
It'll
will
pay
get
off.
done.
It'll pay off.
It will.
I know it will.
I think I have an email somewhere about some of the exterior materials with photos of what they're going to be using. And I do know they found a brick that was almost a perfect match that
Yes.
everyone, including Historic District, is really excited about.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
Can we, can you
Yeah.
send me an email about that or something?
Yeah.
A lot of little anecdotes like that we want to
Yeah.
win, we want people to really love this library. If they love it, then they're gonna really help us. And we need everybody to help us.
Thank you for all your hard work on this.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Dana. Okay, on to the IT update.
Well, besides not having bought a computer yet, we're in process of starting staff reviews. So everybody has to have a folder on the network, which means they should have their own Windows profile and login. So I worked with IT this week to get that set up, and in the process, we also made everyone update and change their passwords, which is just a good safety and security protocol. You too. I'll resend the email.
No, but I mean, well, never mind.
So when you sit down at any computer in the library, it's automatically logged into StaffCirc. But you can log it in as yourself, and then you have administrative privileges, which means you can get to all the folders with all the trustee documents. So it's an option for you. And that's where your review folder is. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you'll log in the laptop the same way. So if you're working at home on the laptop, same thing. But you have to log in soon and update your password.
Oh, how did that all get organized? Did you do all that?
It's because
Very great idea.
so Sarah and Susan are doing reviews of their staff, and then I'm doing them and everybody else. And Sarah said, so and so said they don't have a folder. I'm like, everybody, I can see all the folders. They all have folders. Well, they don't have access. I'm like, okay, let's fix that. So, yeah. So we did that, and then we have a weird thing going on with the children's Zoom laptop. IT was in today. Like, he comes in every Wednesday, so if I can give him a heads up Monday or Tuesday, he'll show up and do work, which is awesome. We turn the computer on and it just won't connect to the guest wireless for some reason. Like, it should come up with a welcome to the library, please check here to agree to our acceptable use policy. And it's not, it's just kind of getting hung up. And what I want is for when patrons to sit down at the computer, there's the Grafton Public Library homepage and it's ready to go. And in the kids' room, we have a bunch of children's websites bookmarked with tabs, mostly library resources. So I want it to just be connecting. And it's not. So he did some updates, and I'm going to test it. He's actually going to come in next Wednesday when we open and turn on the computers himself and see if the problem is replicated after the updates he did. So Bob at Coughlin is
Great.
awesome. Yeah.
Thank you, Beth. On to Friends update and membership. So I attended the Friends meeting, and so did Beth, to give them an update on the happenings at the library. Thank you to everybody who renewed their Friends membership. I think it was a good exercise for us to just, rather than waiting for them to tell us, because I know how difficult that can be sometimes, just to notify people when their membership is due, just to decide as a board to update. So I thought that was good. And, for those who update on their own, great. We don't need to force everybody to do it all at once, but I think it's just a good idea, just kind of regroup. So it's great. At the Friends meeting, a couple of notable points. They're working with Heidi on the Community Reads book and theme, which is women suffrage. And because this year marks the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. So I think they were having a little bit of trouble trying to find the right book for the children's and teens read, but I think Heidi ended up coming up with some good suggestions, and they talked about that. I think they are going to have the community read at the Historical Society as well, so that'll be kind of neat. The Friends also voted to approve $5,000 for the library, which is their annual gift, well, not gift, but payment for the library passes generally. And rather than the Friends saying, well, this is for this pass and that pass, they just give the library $5,000, and we spend it on passes as we see fit.
They do it twice a year.
Twice a year.
Twice a year. Yeah.
Thank you. They are also looking to provide membership incentives. There is around Valentine's Day, they're doing a fundraiser for Why I Love the Library, where you can donate a few dollars and get a heart that can be posted. You can decorate it or write why you love the library and post it up. But also those who renew their Friends membership, they're also providing a membership incentive, which is these kind of cute little bookmarks that kind of have a clip on the end too, so they don't go flying out of your book. So they're pretty cool. And I think the last piece is they're working on T-shirts that can be purchased. I'm not quite sure what the design is going to look like yet.
I should have brought my shirt. It's the 2020 summer reading program theme. So for kids, it's a blue cat in a boot for the fairy tale Puss in Boots. For teens, it's a big purple dragon. And the adult shirt is red, and I forget what's on it. They're going to sell for $10 for a child size and $15 for an adult size. I think all the way up to 3 or 4X, same price. And then patrons who purchase will pay that price, and they'll all get shipped to the library. And it doesn't. The Friends aren't out any money for it because they're collecting all the money and then buying all the shirts and then distributing them. And it'll be a great way to promote the summer reading program. Every year we get patrons asking, "Where can I buy your shirt? I love it." And we're like, they're not for sale because we don't have a way to purchase them and resell them, but the Friends do. And the cost of the shirts is a little bit less than what we're charging, so they'll make a little bit of a profit even after they pay the shipping cost. So Dan and Stacy are working on the language and the links to make it work with PayPal right now. I think you'll also be able to walk into the library, pay cash, and we can help figure out how to order it online. But paying through pay, you can actually use your credit card too. You can use either PayPal or your credit card through the Friends website, so that we don't have to handle any money. It's going direct to their bank account. It just makes it so easy. Yeah. So that was supposed to launch this week. I'm hoping it'll be final by the end of the week. We'll be promoting it. Yeah, it's a cute design.
They're also planning for the Easter egg hunt, which won't be in the Common this year. I think it's going to be at what's the name of that park? Ferry Street Park, which is quite a bit bigger. And so I think Beth mentioned, well, you can sell more tickets.
Yes.
So
Where at Ferry Street Park?
in the baseball field, yeah,
Yeah, they have baseball and soccer fields.
Oh,
and a
okay.
playground. Like it's
Inside the
parking.
fields.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
huge.
yeah. So
I think that's great because it's in South Grafton too.
Yeah,
I
it's
think there's
nice.
some potential to be
I like that. That's a nice
a
idea.
very very big event
Yeah.
because they sell out every year, both sessions. So I think if they're going to have more
Oh my God.
tickets, then they're going to need a lot more help.
Okay.
So those of you who'd like to help, they're going to be talking about it more at the next meeting in February, which I think is February 11th, whatever that Tuesday is.
I forget if they picked the first or the second.
Got a lot of people to
Tuesday.
help that last year. Michelle helped.
I
Michelle
have Tuesday, February 11th, right here.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
What date?
I believe the 11th is
Oh,
the next
is it
meeting.
still planned? Was it the Saturday?
Before Easter, I think,
before
yeah.
Easter?
On Passover.
Yes.
Oh, you're kidding.
There's always
Does it have to
something.
be that day?
Yeah, I think so.
It's the calendar's really.
Only
isn't it a
2%
wacky
of the
calendar this
of the
year?
population is Jewish. It has to be that day.
What?
I said only like 2% of the population is Jewish. It has to be that way.
So what date is that it's
Really
going to
low.
be? Just so I know.
Oh, Saturday.
The day before Easter?
Yeah, the day before Easter.
Yeah, that'd be Saturday, April 11th.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'll mark that down. Thank you.
And they also voted to donate for a gift in memory of their friend, Mary Tulloch, who passed away last year. So Beth had some nice ideas as to what could be purchased, to remember her.
Yeah, they craft books because she was really crafty, and possibly craft books with adults and kids, so like multi-generational activities you can do together as a family. So
Yeah.
I'm working on that.
Mary was very active in with the Down Under book sales and promoting that and, you know, making that a great spot for, you know, patrons to buy books. And we love Mary.
And her husband helped a lot too when he was alive. Yeah. They worked around the clock on that.
Okay, on to the next item. We have landscape and garden. Well, not much of a garden right now.
Yeah,
Well, there really isn't any garden right now.
Yes.
yeah.
Everything's frozen, and the landscape. There's really nothing to say right now
Yeah.
about it. It's just pending. It's on hold.
Fair enough.
Although I have started planning.
I was gonna say it's time
On
to start
paper.
dreaming.
Huh?
It's time to start dreaming about.
No, I
do.
have started on paper, trying to think what we're going to plant, how I can work with the patrons, the children, adults, and reaching out and seeing if that promised bed might actually come to fruition. I doubt it, but he said it. I didn't ask, so I'll see.
The composter is still at the old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I
that's-
can't get in there, and he said he was bringing it.
I'll remind him.
Okay. So
Thank you.
that was it, short and sweet.
Noise complaints? Nothing to report?
Well, my kid was really loud going up to the door the other day. I could hear her coming from halfway through the parking lot. But other than that, everything else has been fine at the library.
Well, as long as nobody complained.
Right, I complain.
Any space concerns?
Negotiating space when you have an adult tutoring a child. Should they be in the children's room or should they be in the adult space? There's only so many tables. So I said, it seems like they should be in the children's room unless there's no room, and then they can move to the adult space. But we shouldn't have adults tutoring adults or doing English language conversations in the children's room. If it turns out that they're in there because there's an adult and child, they need to flip.
Right.
So, but we also don't want to spend a lot of time micromanaging where people are sitting. So, kind of just letting it go until there's a problem and people are saying, there's nowhere to sit. Well, let's see what we can find.
Okay. So you're noticing.
So there's not enough space.
Yeah. Okay.
but yeah, we're managing.
All right.
Alright.
So the next item says 2020 update. I'm not sure what that is.
I think this is the calendar.
Okay.
We wanted to add two Saturday closures around Christmas and New Year's. Was that the only thing?
Print it out
Yeah.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You guys
All
changed
right.
it on me.
It actually didn't really get changed. We just added.
Good.
I think.
So does that take care of that one issue that you and I were talking about?
Well, not really, because anybody can decide to close. And I guess I should have just closed, but we were really busy on New Year's Eve day until 5. I left at 5:30.
yeah.
Karen came to keep me company, and it was steady busy.
I believe it.
I'm
very busy.
very
Yeah.
happy to hear that.
So I'm glad it was worth it for me to be there, to be open.
Yeah.
And I had nothing else that is, whatever, it was fine. So for next year, I think it's 2020 draft. So I'm asking if we can add in 2 unpaid Saturdays, Saturday, December 26th, which is the day after Christmas, and Saturday, January 2nd, which is the day after New Year's Day.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I can't say no to that if you think it
I
would be
mean,
good for your staff
I
health.
think it'll be really good for staff morale. I think there will be some people who are disappointed, but I feel like because of Christmas falling and New Year's falling on a Friday,
Yeah.
it just makes it a nice long weekend. This building will certainly not be open. So it just seems like a fair, like they're not getting a paid extra holiday. We're just going to close, and anybody who would have been scheduled for that Saturday will shift to their normal day off for Saturday. And we'll distribute it through the week if we need to.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's nice though, they'll have 3 days off. too.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
Sunday.
that's
And
kinda
one's a
nice.
Saturday.
And Sunday too.
Kinda nice.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I think we just have to edit. I think my question, should we close?
yeah.
I think we can stay open. I don't have any problem staying open till 5 on New Year's Eve. So. I think that's,
So we're going to change
There you
that?
Yeah.
Or it was?
yeah.
Was it already that?
I think it was 5, and I suggested we could close earlier,
Yeah.
but
I think
yeah.
I think
I
it
think-
still remains 5.
Yeah.
What I had put up a new one at the library.
Okay. Yeah, I think 5 is
Right.
perfect.
Right, and it was definitely very busy, right up until 5.
Yeah.
You had to help.
I know at least one
You
library was
volunteer.
open till 7.
I would think you'd have to.
I was,
So.
well,
I should have come by to help you.
Yeah, but 5 would have been 5 is our normal closing time for Friday anyway. So it's
Perfect.
so. Oh, it's a Thursday night, I guess, but I think it'll be okay.
no, yeah.
Okay. So can you vote to make that?
Yeah, you don't really want to be open till
No,
nine
I would
on
not
New
be that-
Year's
no.
Eve.
No.
No.
I mean, unless we're having a program and a party at the library,
Well, yeah.
but I don't think I want
Maybe we
to
could have a
in the new library.
private party.
Okay.
Right, so,
So can
So
someone make
is
a
anybody
motion?
going to move?
so I make a motion to accept the 2020 calendar.
Nice.
That's
Second
it.
that motion, accept the 2020 calendar.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Membership.
Okay. So membership update. We have a vacancy on the board. We had some interest at the last meeting. Marty Essner, Martin Essner, who is a new resident in Grafton, and I believe he was traveling this week, and so he couldn't be appointed at the last select board meeting because he just wasn't going to be in town for that. But they moved it at the last minute, the meeting, so he will be appointed at the next February February 11th meeting. I think it's that same Tuesday. And he agreed to serve on the board, which is just the rest of the current term until the election, and then decide if he wants to run for office
Okay.
for the position, which I confirmed with Candy at the town clerk's office that all of our terms are now 3-year terms, because I think
Yeah.
mine was in question for a while. And so when I went to look at the library's website and also the town's website, it said that my term expires in 2022, and I was elected in 2018, so 4 years, that didn't seem right. And so there's a lot of back and forth, but so she said, well, let's take a look at the election results, and it said, I think it was myself, Martina, and Doug, for 3 years, it said so. So I said, okay, that should be 2021. So they updated that. So this year we have 2 terms expiring, Karen's, and then the open position that Martin's interested in. Yeah. And then we'll have another 3 in 2021.
Did she straighten that out, Candy?
Yep. So it just needs to be updated on our website if it's not yet.
Okay.
But it's updated on the town website. Yep. Okay. Action plan, which I believe is the 2021 long-range planning committee.
But action plan can be taken off unless you have comments on the action plan that I submitted in December.
Yeah.
But we need to invite people to be on the long range planning committee.
So wait a minute. So this is not the same thing.
So the action plan is part of the last long range plan.
Yes.
Which ends in 2020.
Yeah.
So I had to submit an action plan and I forwarded it in December, and then I sent it to MBLC and they accepted it.
Okay. Great.
But it only goes, they said it was a fiscal year action plan, but I don't think that it is. It goes to December 2020. But that means that we need by October 1st, 2020 to submit the 21 through 25 5-year
Yep.
plan.
Yep.
So we need to get a committee together that can meet. We have somebody to facilitate. I picked 2 dates in March and May, but we need to get 12 to 15 people from the community. And I had like 2 or 3 names, but I'm looking for suggestions sent to me by email
Okay.
so I can send out like 20 or 25 letters
Last time
to
I
people who
sent
might want to
out-
volunteer.
I sent out all the letters and all
Yeah.
the emails.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so last month I sent the draft letter with the dates for everybody to look at with an explanation of what the long-range planning process and the expectation is. It's like 2 3-hour meetings. And I sent out, I think, a draft letter about the facilitator, possibly, maybe not.
Did you send this to us, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can resend it. But what I need right now is names.
Okay.
Who should we ask to be? Community leaders.
It should be your community leaders.
Yeah,
And
community
then-
leaders. Somebody from select board. The friends will have to nominate somebody to go. The trustees need to send somebody to go. One person.
Yeah.
One person from staff, one from trustees, one from friends, somebody from the capital campaign.
So,
And
if,
so is it called the 2021?
It's called the 2021 to 2025 long range planning or strategic planning. I like LRP, long range planning committee.
I like that.
so, we as the trustees need to select someone from our board.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, certainly speak up. Or, you can talk to me directly if you're interested, and then we can just, decide at the next meeting, because we have to decide by the next meeting, February. So
Yeah.
think about it. I'd be happy to serve on that committee if there's no other interest.
The meetings are going to be on a Tuesday night. I believe it is March 10th and May 12th.
Yeah.
That's when the facilitator is available. And it'll probably be 3 hours, and we can talk about whether we want to do dinner or snacks to entice people to come. And then the library is closed the Friday, March 13th, maybe, for professional development. So she will meet with staff without me that morning to talk to staff about what they want to do in the next 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they can speak freely. Yeah.
And if you'd like to know more about what it means to serve on that committee, Beth has lots of great information.
Been through this process 5 or 6 times.
Yeah. And it should be, you might know some people that you should suggest.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. So you said it's going to be Tuesday nights, do you think,
Yeah.
for 3 hours? Like
Probably at 3
7 to
hours.
10 or 6?
So yeah, 6:30 to 9:30 would be my goal, but
Okay.
Yeah, I can get going.
working dinner. Yeah, and to not keep people out too late.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you. So homework is to think about our community leaders who might want to serve on that committee. Okay, lighting in the parking lot after dark. This is good news,
It looks wonderful.
Yeah, it's really good.
right?
I still would really like a light on the corner of the building, but I don't think it's gonna happen in
Well,
the handicap spot. It's good enough.
well, when Tim and I met that night last summer, he indicated that one should go there. So it's something that we could ask him about.
If you would like to follow up with him.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'd be happy to do
Okay.
that, because we did talk about putting one there. But the light on the pole was the most important one,
Yes,
and that
and it's made a big difference.
Oh yeah.
Do we still have the other gas?
Oh no, they took that away the day they fixed the other light.
Okay, so it's fixed.
It looks great.
Yes.
Great. So I've
Why-
seen it lit up, so
so
that
good.
it's working. I thought it was
Yeah.
the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and it just comes on. We don't have to do anything to
Oh my
it.
gosh.
Yes,
Is that
even
one pole
better.
that you had found?
On the
Oh
street.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, the telephone pole. Yeah. I knew it would make a difference as soon as they turned it on. Okay, excellent. A parking lot expansion update. I think there's some news here too, right?
Oh,
Yeah, so in department head meeting, I said, parking was still an issue, and Tim asked if I had ever gotten in touch with the owner, and I said I'd made multiple attempts at his request through Facebook and got nowhere. And then the assessor, sitting across the room, said, "Oh, that property's up for auction. The bank owns it."
Oh.
And everyone went, "What?"
Wow.
And she said, "Yeah, the bank owned it when they knocked the house down."
Okay.
So the town administrator's office will follow up to see what bank and if there can be some kind of negotiation worked out. But it might be good for somebody from the board to follow up and kind of make sure it's getting moved along. We are really desperate for parking.
Well,
I parked off site today because it was nice, but we had story time. Like the lot was full when I came in today. So
who can we follow up with?
town administrator's office, what's the status?
Yeah.
Whose office?
Town administrator.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, because the assessor can't make any movement with it. It's the town administrator and select board.
Did someone suggest that we do that?
I'm suggesting that we do that.
Okay, Tim wasn't
Yes.
at that meeting, was he?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he just went, yeah, okay, we'll follow up, but they.
Okay.
Yes, but it's the town administrator's office who would follow up with the bank that owns and is auctioning the property
Yeah.
to see if the bank would be willing to either sell it cheap or lease it And, or while you're selling, can we put gravel on it and make it parkable?
Yeah.
To extend the library parking for the next year.
So I will take that on because I know that, well, I'll delegate to Doug because he's traveling
Worked on it, yeah.
and he's been working on it. And
So it happens when you don't show up to meeting.
he's been asking for some homework projects while he's traveling because he won't be at this meeting, obviously, and the next meeting.
Fair.
So I think that would be a good project for him to work
Yeah.
on.
So you'll send,
Yeah, I'll take that up with Doug. And if he's unavailable, then I'll take it. That's fine. Okay,
Wow.
excellent. Well, thank you for that.
Wow,
Um,
I'm so glad we were
I-
resistant.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things where you just banging your head up against the wall.
Yeah,
And you
well,
know it's bad, but
and it could be nothing happens
Yeah.
for a year and we're ready to move out and it's
I know.
No, I think we will
You know.
because it's really hard. I mean, I think whoever,
and we
yeah.
we have to do a lot of policing of the parking lot with people who are parked in the
Didn't we
curb.
have some-
It's not, you cannot park in the curb, but it says no parking on the asphalt.
Yeah.
Didn't
So,
we also have an
I-
accident too?
Oh, we've had
Hit
3
and run.
accidents. We've had several hit and runs, yeah. There's something, the lines are actually, they painted over the lines that were there from the church, but the spaces are not uniform, so that's a piece of the problem. So there's sort of this perception issue with how wide and narrow you think the space is and how long the lines are. It's just a really weird parking lot. But it's also full, and people are circling and they're coming late to programs because they can't find parking. And because of the snow and ice, I've asked staff to not park off-site anymore. Like I said, I do if the weather's nice and I'm comfortable walking and the sidewalk's clear, but if it's snowing and icy, I'm not doing that. It's not safe. It's not lit, so,
Okay.
yeah.
If you need help, let me know, because I think, to me, I think what the library's been, just the fact that we're renting this building, I hope other businesses are looking at it, because I think it could be a great space. You need to redo the parking lot and put dirt in there and fill and get rid of that oval thing, the planter.
Yeah.
You could add so much more space.
I can't believe no one has hit that weird oval in the middle.
That thing is horrible.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
So
We have some potholes, and I asked directly for DPW to come and
Yeah.
and fill them in.
Yeah, because
So follow-
right where it
Yes.
meets the road, that's getting
Yeah.
bigger.
But it's been a week, so I'll be following up with a phone call next week.
Yeah.
Hey,
Is
remember
the,
that pothole?
is it,
God.
so I know we're going to vote to approve a policy tonight for parking, but can that be posted somewhere?
Yeah,
Or do you think it would be helpful to post it? That's the bigger question.
I think it's helpful to post it, but nobody's gonna read it.
Yeah.
It's also helpful to, what we do with unattended child is it's posted, but we'll hand a copy to somebody when we have an unattended
Well,
child issue too.
The
So
only reason why I think it
So
would
that's
be
not-
valuable to
put it under their windshield.
well, no.
That's another thing altogether.
No, we talk directly with people. When
Yeah, but a good reason to post it is because even just reading it for our purposes, you clearly say at the bottom that there's another lot that's available right down the street at St. Mary's.
Yeah.
And how is anybody going to know that?
Right.
If they show up to the library. I mean, they might see it if they're visiting the library, but they're not going to go on the website and figure out where to park.
Okay.
I don't know.
they're also not gonna park in St. Mary's.
Maybe in the summer,
Maybe in the
when it's
but right
nice,
now, no.
I mean,
If there
what,
was an ice cream shop down there, they might consider it.
Yeah.
yeah, so
Food truck.
I wonder if we almost treat it kind of like a business that has additional parking in the rear, just kind of has like a big sign, additional parking
I was
at,
gonna say, could we
you
do
know,
that? Put it somewhere, a sign?
so you don't
Put
have
it in
to
the window,
have,
yeah.
have
I
a
can-
small policy,
Why
that
couldn't we
people
do
have to
that?
read that.
Why couldn't we put
Okay.
a sign in the parking lot?
Yeah,
Just the signage, yeah.
If that church
because
is okay with that.
somebody pulls in, like I went there the other day, I didn't find a spot, but luckily I didn't have any library business, I just had to return some books, but then I had to leave, right? So, but if I saw a sign that said additional parking, and I really had to do something there, then I could just go on the street and
Great.
park.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay,
I am also gonna get a the kind of sign you stick in the ground that says no parking for the circle.
okay.
Because once it snows or leaves are you can't see on the ground that it says no parking.
Right.
So
Okay.
That thing is really hard, that planner though. I'm amazed someone hasn't crashed
I
into
know.
that.
Oh, maybe the
there's
snowplow
plenty
will
of
do
room
it.
to
Yeah,
go
maybe
around.
they will.
It's fine. They have to use the little.
We can only
pickup
pray.
truck.
Are you gonna plan something in there?
Wish that.
What's in there? No. Is there any junk in there now? I can't remember.
There's There is some regular long-term plants in there.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Anything else on the parking lot? How about snow and ice cream up? Ice clean up.
Ice cream
cream
up.
Ice
What were we saying about ice
That's what I thought it said. Snow and ice cream
Yeah.
in the parking lot. That sounds great. So we had an issue when the town office was on holiday. I think it was New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve, right?
Yeah.
Where the DPW is out and about taking care of the town, but there was no one to really direct them to go over to the library lot when it was almost 10 o'clock and they were about to open, and the lot was completely covered in snow and ice still. So Tim was very helpful. You hate to rouse somebody on their day off, but it was kind of one of those things that if he's the only one that can really direct the DPW, because Beth can't. I mean, she has people's numbers and she can ask, but she can't direct resources that aren't hers to direct. So it was good that Tim was very responsive and was able to get somebody out over there. On the same token, librarians were also cleaning the walkway and whatnot, and it can be very dangerous depending on the conditions. And I think somebody fell and injured themselves.
Yeah. Not while shoveling, but they had parked next door
Yeah,
to leave the lot free so
I
they
see.
could clear
I see.
and didn't move the car, and then went back to move the car and fell in the parking lot because even though they came and plowed, you can't fit the truck that has the sander attachment, the plow truck with the sander attachment, because of that round thing. You
Wow.
can't get up and around, so they have to send a separate pickup truck and then a truck with sand in the back. So they came and plowed, and everybody drove into the lot and parked. And then 10 minutes later, the sanding truck came up, but they could only get to the book drop.
So it's still pretty.
And
icy.
it was like 10:15 when they showed up. I guess I could have jumped out of my car and made everyone wait, but I didn't realize they weren't sanding while they were plowing.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how we can.
It was suggested I simply communicate directly with
Yeah.
the plow people and say, when can you get to us? And then have them tell us when they're done, and then add an hour for staff to get there and
But
pick an opening
I
time.
thought
That's
that
what
you did
I have
that.
been told to do.
Yeah, because I also
That's
called,
what I do, yeah.
I also called
But
the,
they
D,
don't
the DPW
Well, they're
and,
closed.
and left them a voice message, but you can't
Yeah.
call them when they're out and about, on a day like that. So it was good that Tim was helpful to redirect them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess going forward, we just make sure that we're still open. Right?
Good point. Yeah.
Okay. And so-
I was told that my staff and I should not be shoveling. And I
Yes.
said, but we're open at night. We have nobody.
Yeah.
There is somebody here, but I don't know. So I need to figure out what the next step is to get the person who is here doing custodial
yeah.
over to my building to shovel if there is a need at night.
Who's that person's supervisor after hours?
I will talk to that person.
Okay. Great.
I know who it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. So we have
Yeah.
some avenues there. Thank
It's
you.
going to snow on the weekend next, I think. So.
Saturday night.
Saturday.
Do they have custodial on Saturday? No.
They don't?
So you have to pay extra because the town's closed. So like if somebody's having a dance or whatever, then they pay a custodian time and a half. Low man on the totem pole for the union contract usually is the one who has to come in and sit and wait. But then they would just be here to supervise this building, not to be deployed. I don't think.
So we have to figure out Saturday as well. So maybe that's another conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to just not open.
Well, we did have one evening, you were there at the library, when it was snowing, and it snowed, and it snowed, and it snowed, and nobody came to do anything.
Yeah.
And then
And
it was higher than it should have been.
I know. I was totally expecting that you would leave and say, Beth, you need to close. Because I wasn't there to know how bad it was. And you're like, it wasn't great, but I
But
had
it got
four-wheel
worse
drive.
and
It's
worse.
fine.
It got worse and worse.
So yeah, my staff hate me because I didn't.
Shoot. It's not my fault. I tell you, I get in trouble for doing nothing. I gotta-
They were fine. They all
We're
got-
fine. We slogged out there and did the
What
deed.
day was that? Like a Thursday or
Oh
something?
yeah, it was like
I
a
think it was
Tuesday.
Thursday, yeah.
I don't know.
Don't.
So I really appreciate it when I hear from this board, Beth, you're being ridiculous. It's not safe. You don't have support. They're doing the roads. No one's coming to shovel. You need to not be open because we don't want somebody to get hurt.
Yeah, we don't.
Because it's better to
worth
come
it.
from you
Yes.
than to.
We already had
us from
somebody get
me.
injured several years ago who was a long-term injury, right?
Yeah.
We don't need any more.
So,
Yeah.
so that's a great point.
I need help with my judgment.
But also so that particular day, I was in Boston. I don't know what it's like in Grafton.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
You know, so
I was home
what
in
would be
Arlington.
really great is if someone who also is local to Grafton may know, like, yeah, this is, the conditions aren't conducive to opening the library today.
And sometimes it depends on where you are in town.
Yeah.
Like that morning it was bad. It was fine over here.
It was
and
great.
It
It
was
was-
terrible, but at the library, 4 miles away.
Yeah, when you lived in town,
Yeah.
you knew what the conditions were. But now,
And I had a 4-wheel drive Jeep, and I could go check it out and come back.
Yeah.
Too. And
Right.
I don't have that
so
option.
so now you're relying on local,
Yeah.
trustees or staff.
Well, and
here.
and what the staff thinks is not safe, and what the town administrator thinks is not safe. Honestly, it's just different. So, who do I listen to, and who do I believe? And they've both been there
Yeah.
and have different opinions.
Well, we talked to the we talked about calling the police station to see what they felt
Yeah.
if it was
The
safe to open.
the chief is the only one who has authority to tell me that.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, right. The dispatch can't tell
No.
you that. No, that's true.
Well,
Yeah.
don't we have to judge by the way that our parking lot is? And so we don't have a very safe parking lot, so unfortunately, it may not be as open. We might have to close it on the occasion
Yes.
when we really don't want to, but
Yeah.
it's not safe for
Okay.
people coming in and out, right?
If they can't do the lot because the priority is the roads, then
We can't be open.
For example, that evening that you were there, I communicated with Beth.
yeah.
There was an elderly man who came in, and we wanted to help him out. He wouldn't let us, but we watched him. I mean,
Yeah.
what good is it if he falls down? But it wasn't good for the patron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the patrons are reluctant to, like, do a C-click fix or call the town administrator office or send you an email to say this isn't good, it's not safe. They just complain. And they say very loudly, "Oh, be careful! It's not safe!" to their small child who's tottering out onto the slippery sidewalk after story time. So
Well, they probably don't know. They're just trying to save, help their kid. They're not thinking, oh, I have to solve this. It's not my job to solve it.
it sort of comes across as a, "Hey, staff, why aren't you doing something about it?" Because of the volume and the proximity to the desk.
okay,
And,
okay.
and some people do very directly say, you shouldn't be open. It's not safe. But they came to the library. They came out in the storm to come get their books or go to the program or return their
That's the
books.
case.
Because we were open.
I think, why
So-
can't we just use, so what's the protocol then? I think you should use.
We
your
have a
judgment.
snow policy. You set the protocol.
I know, all right.
And then I do what you tell me.
Okay. Well, let's just do it. I don't think
Yeah.
we should be embarrassed. We don't want people to get hurt, right?
Yeah, it's
They're not
policy.
gonna,
Yeah.
they're not gonna love the library if they get hurt. It's not fair. And just because they could,
Yeah.
we only have the resources that we have on hand.
Yeah.
And we are a pretty tight budgeted, town, so if people don't want their taxes to go way up,
Yeah.
stuff.
So we're gonna do our best to stay open.
Yeah.
If it's
Yes.
safe, if the
If
roads are
it's-
safe and the lot is cleared properly. But if it's really coming down and snowing a lot and it's just gonna keep accumulating, it's like close it.
It's gonna keep
Yeah.
accumulating.
So okay,
No point.
good discussion.
Thank you.
Thanks. So we talked about the trustee representative. Do we have a walkabout? I guess of the current space.
I would do a walkabout on the current space.
Yeah.
I would like to teach trustees how to do the walkabout.
In the newspaper.
And certainly, I guess my only thing would be, is temperature in the building. It's cold. And in the children's room, it gets colder. And then sometimes in the adult sections, it's cold.
Yeah.
I don't see that there's anything we can do about it, really, but it does remain cold. When it's a cold day, it's cold. Inside, too.
So I haven't, I don't think we did plastic on the windows in those side rooms, which is the teen space, the kitchen, the large print. So we could certainly do that. And I think that would help. I should do it in
feel
our
any
office,
breezes
too.
anywhere. It's just And the
Yeah.
bathrooms are
and the
really
bathroom,
cold.
so, and we have to
Really
crank the heat,
stinks.
and then the hallway where the DVDs are gets really warm just to keep it reasonable in the ladies' room,
bathroom.
in the men's room, yeah.
It's not a perfect space.
No, better
How is
than
the
not.
staff?
But we got
staff
a
room?
whole collection.
I know, it's true, I'm happy.
It's a catch-all. I mean, somebody's working in there all the time. So
The break,
it,
the
the
break
the
room?
server
Yeah.
the server keeps it warm actually.
Yes,
Oh.
it
It's
does.
because it's also the server room. Yeah, we have a space heater if the staff member's cold. But the windows, the window in that room should also be plastic. I can ask Paul to help me with that.
Awesome.
We should do our room too. I turn on the space heater in my office when
It's
I'm in
really
there 'cause
cold.
it's cold. What?
It's really cold.
It's the
in that
yeah
room.
that window needs to be done.
Is that something you'd like to continue to do? I know you've done some walkabouts in the
Yeah,
past.
certainly.
So we'll plan a day.
Yep, plan a day.
Awesome.
I was
Your
advised.
schedule.
I was advised not to remove the moss that's on the roof,
Okay.
to just leave it. And somebody did come to caulk the skylight and to look at the other spot that was leaking into the adult nonfiction section. That was something I talked to Tim about, and he got right on the ball and got somebody over to look at it.
Wow, I feel like we're checking things off.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
Very nice.
on
Beth.
here.
I know, now we have a lit parking lot
I
It
know.
only took 8
without
months.
noise.
It's the little things that really,
No leaks in the over the books.
Yeah,
no
really.
leaks over the books. Wow.
It'll be a perfect building by the time you move out.
Exactly.
I know it, that's why
Well,
I think a business should
I
come
mean, there
in.
is also the sense of it's not our building. We don't need to put a lot.
I know.
Yeah.
Like it just needs to work for now, and
Yeah.
it's not going to be perfect.
Okay.
But those were big, really big things we needed to take care of. So
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm grateful.
So we're at 8:20, and we have some policy review.
Yep.
I believe most.
We have discussion on them, or are we just?
I don't know that any changes. I think should have been sent to the policy committee. So was that helpful for us just to email you back?
Yes.
Yeah.
The most helpful was I looked at it and it's great, no changes.
Yeah.
So
But there were some things, yeah. Like grammar
so
things.
so
Right.
the item that the legal counsel said, you know, change him or her
Yeah.
to
They.
to they,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
they or there.
I should do that throughout if I haven't.
Um,
Yeah.
Well, I found one.
Oh, okay.
Policy. It talked about he or she, you know, director.
Director or his or her designee, maybe.
Yes.
So yeah, director or their
Yeah.
designee would.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I emailed those
Okay.
back, but most of it was just
That's good.
I think they're
easy
very
stuff.
well written.
But they
Yes.
were the changes made perfect sense.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You know, so with some of the language.
I felt really,
Okay.
I felt like we got a lot done with all
Yeah,
this.
because a lot of it is like, you know, will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, that kind of stuff. I'm like, will it though? and like, so, right, you know, and is it a crime to be noisy? No, it's, you know, so the language.
NGL statute.
So some of the language that was changed really made a lot of sense.
Making
So
out in the
thank you
hallway.
for thank you for working on
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happened.
PDAs. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Wasn't me.
It was very personal.
Yes.
Oh, and then they just relocated, right? When
They
you don't
relocated.
they hid.
Oh, gosh.
To the adult section.
Often celebrates the holidays.
Oh, gosh.
I said, really, see the children? Because
Yes.
If it's teenagers, I
It was
usually go with, ew.
really. So they said, okay, and they moved.
Oh, gosh.
They were really celebrating the holiday, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so I think for each of these, someone needs to make a motion, someone needs to second, and then any
Yes,
discussion.
each
Okay.
And if
one.
none, we can just approve.
All right, so are we doing all of them at once?
I guess somebody could
Okay.
Well,
do it.
Well, why don't we do
Depends on if you wanna talk
officially, so for the record.
Officially, each one at a
I'm-
separate time.
yeah, I'm sorry. So there were changes that need to be incorporated in at least 3 of these that I found.
So did you let them know?
Yes.
Then
Okay.
they made the changes.
Well, I did
I
not
only
make
sent it out
changes yet.
today, though.
Yeah, so we can say with changes. Just
changes.
Okay.
changes.
All right.
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 Okay,
All right.
so code of conduct.
All right. I make a motion to accept the code of conduct with the requested changes.
Recapitalized.
I second that motion.
All right.
And all,
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, excellent.
All right,
parking lot
all
policy.
right. Okay. I make a motion to accept the parking lot policy with all requested changes.
I second that motion to accept it.
All right.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, excellent, parking lot policy. great.
Reciprocal borrowing.
All right. I make a motion to accept the reciprocal borrowing policy with the requested changes.
I second.
Yeah, so this is, I think the one that I saw said fire or flood, community control.
really?
So this might be the old one.
I can add in.
Yeah, whichever one you emailed out.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
it was
right,
two,
right.
it was two. You're right. It was with both of those.
Yeah, fire flood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, with requested changes, so, okay.
Perfect.
A motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Security camera.
So,
Alright.
Sorry.
so stop jumping on all of them, because I know Dana
Yes.
loves to do this too.
Okay, yeah. That was about to say.
Or we can give Daniela the opportunity.
We are halfway through.
We are halfway, I
Move
can do
it
the last
over.
one, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Should I do the
So
security
security
one?
camera.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yes.
I see. I forget what I said now.
Make a motion.
I make a motion for us to approve the security camera policy with all the changes that have been indicated.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Request for video footage.
So
So
that one.
that's actually a form that
form?
goes with the, it wouldn't have any, it's
Well,
part of the policy,
It's part
isn't
of
it?
But
policy.
it does, the date says 2019 a lot, and I see you've
Yeah.
made a couple of the changes.
Yeah.
So that's great, so there's
okay,
another one.
okay.
So we're just
Change
gonna
that.
approve the form.
We're gonna approve the form.
So
Okay,
Okay. I make a motion that we approve the security camera request for video footage form.
motion
I
made.
second the motion that we approve the request for video footage form with any changes as indicated.
Awesome.
There's a lot of changes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
and
Great.
last but not least, service to people of disabilities.
This was a really, well thought out policy.
Yeah.
So very, very well done. And it was, it's interesting because, some libraries have, patrons who insist on bringing their pets, that aren't service animals.
Right.
Or like we discussed that at a previous meeting,
Yeah.
but, but this is great.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a motion to, accept the service to people with disabilities policy?
I make a motion that we accept the service to people of disabilities policy with the changes, recent changes.
Okay,
I second that motion that we accept the service to people with disabilities form with the changes as
Okay.
indicated.
excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
All right.
Yeah.
That was lovely.
All right. All right. Fine Free Library next.
I don't have any updates
I don't
on the Fine Free Library. However, I know that, sorry,
We tracked it. We had over 100 conversations in December about fines with patrons.
yes.
100
103. I think it was
in 1 month?
in 1 month.
Wow.
And there's probably more because.
And there's probably more
if
that
you
didn't get written down
busy,
because we started this the first week, I think.
So that's,
Like after the first week.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good information to have, isn't
And,
it?
Yeah.
but I think it was more so, how long did it take to discuss too? I think you were tracking that as well.
Yeah.
We're just doing tick marks. We had a conversation. It's 2 or
Maybe
3
two or
minutes.
It's
three minutes.
impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to gauge
There's
that.
no way you could try to track that.
Well, even at 3 minutes apiece, that's still 5 hours.
Yeah, I feel like that maybe there's a form that has a formula to apply for
Yeah.
time and money and cost,
Yeah.
so that I don't have to actually track how many minutes.
Yeah. So, I know Tim wanted to see a proposal, for a Fine Free Library. But I think we initially talked about sending it to the Finance Committee. But I know that Tim would like to be in the loop because he helps, with the town budget. this is a sensitive time for taking money away from the budget. I think it's something that we still want to pursue. How do people feel about the pursuing it in the current town climate? Is this something we want to push forward with?
I don't know, it's pretty dicey out there right now, because we just got bills, new tax bills too.
It's in the end, it's not a lot of money in fines, which I
Right.
think is really eye opening for people to see.
But we do
And,
raise
and
them, yeah.
I think it's nice for if that's something that Tim wants to see. I think that'd be fine to share with him, because that may be more in our favor. Because if it's only a few $1,000s and it provides a really great benefit for the town, especially at the very least, if we don't go for a complete fine-free library, I think we should do what Boston did and pursue that, which is I think anyone under 18, or maybe I think it's under 18, isn't it? Yeah, under 18. Because generally, people who don't have firm employment can't really be expected to pay, bills and fines, right? Their guardians do.
Yeah,
So-
that's true.
So I think that might be a good approach.
I do want to point out that out of this year's FY20 budget that we're in, which was $65 million for the whole town, departmental revenue made up 1% of that revenue. So that's dog licenses and permits and liquor and wine licenses, sign permits, and $8,000 in library fines.
1%.
1% of the budget is department revenue, department turnover. Car excise taxes, all of that revenue is 1% of the budget. The rest is taxes. And the cultural piece of the budget, which is the senior center, council on aging, the recreation department, and the library, is less than 2% of this total budget. So it might be a really tough time economically, but it's $8,000 in a $65 million budget that we're asking for relief for. And if people's tax bills are high, then they don't have to pay a library fine. That seems like a good trade-off to me. And I would really like to open the new building with no fines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
And that's in the FY21 budget cycle, even with our delays.
So we have to do it.
So I would advocate for doing it.
We'd have to do it now in order
Yeah.
to do that.
Right, it is short money.
Yeah, and I also have in the
Any
past
overall.
said I would
Yeah.
reduce the budget by $8,000 if there's
Right.
a feeling of we're taking away from the budget.
Yeah.
Fine, we'll
Yes.
offset it within our own budget, even though we don't actually get that money
Right.
back. Literally, it's just part
I
of the
think
larger
we can
budget.
even put forward that kind of proposal.
I,
and,
that
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah,
I was advised to wait until they suggest it, but I mean I'm open to it.
I think it would be good to open it that way.
yeah.
And we could also
You're-
have a donation jar, which would go into the library gift account, which we can call on for things that maybe we didn't put in the budget
Right.
because we wanted to keep the budget low. I mean, it's usually for things like book carts or professional development. But
So
it
that-
could bring in another programmer speaker or buy a new computer as well.
So that's what Shrewsbury does.
Yeah, guilt
They-
jar.
They have a donate to the Friends jar or container that says, please donate your fine to the Friends, or they're fine free. But if you'd like to make a donation,
Does that mean you have to,
Then it doesn't go to the library. It goes to the Friends.
right, but aren't you still, do you still have to do like all the tabulating and knowing what the fees are?
We still have to ring it into the register. It's just the money would go to the Friends, which means the library can't spend it. So right now, in theory, like I said, we don't get it back directly, but it goes into the town budget, which we have access to, versus the Friends budget, which we don't.
Right.
So it really needs to go to the
Well, it
gift
sounds
account.
to me, but isn't the
Not the
whole thing, isn't part of the issue the time that's spent discussing the fines and getting people concerned that they have to pay for them?
Yeah.
So not everyone's gonna know that, oh, I don't really have to pay for my fine, I can come in and just donate, just not pay it. Is that what you're saying? I don't know if I understand what you're saying.
So a typical transaction would be somebody comes in and says, I know this book is overdue. How much do I owe? And right now, is it, let's look at your account. Oh, you owe 50 cents, but because your fines are under $10, you can still use the card. So you can choose to pay 50 cents now, or you can choose to wait until one of our 2 food for fines periods and just donate 50 cents in canned goods. You can actually run up a fine bill up to $9.99 and still use your card and be in good standing. Or you can pay it. And some people say, I'll wait. And some people say, you know what, here's $1. And then we ring 50 cents on fine and it goes to the town and you're ringing 50 cents on gift if they say keep the change. So the conversation would go from that to, oh, there's no fines anymore, but if you feel guilty, here's the guilt jar.
Now,
But you're still
And no
letting
ringing
them
in the
know
reg-
there's
Yeah.
a fine, though. In essence, there's a fine because you're telling them there's a fine. There's a fine that you don't have to pay.
we can set it either way.
Couldn't we just get rid of that? What's the point? I
Yeah.
thought then you won't have to say, talk to people about it, right?
Well, it would only be if they offered. I mean,
So what
We do
people
publicity.
expect to pay fines, so they'd come in and say, I know this is overdue, how much do I owe you? And you say, oh, you don't owe
Nothing.
anything, you know, we're fine free, but if you'd like to make a donation to our gift account, you know,
Go
that can
for it.
help
No, I
pay
get
for
that, but how are
furniture
they
and-
knowing that they're overdue?
Because they're still gonna be
because they know when the
overdue, or
book is due.
didn't
Yeah.
return.
Yeah,
do
that
get
The
doesn't
book was
Okay.
change.
damaged
Still
or the book
exists.
you
was
get
lost.
an email.
Yeah.
If people don't return things, they're
You're just not
they're-
gonna say what your fine is. You'll just say, your
Yeah.
book is you're overdue 2 weeks. You're
Yeah,
not
and we
gonna say-
don't. Yeah, and we don't have to necessarily ring anything into the register. We don't have to go and then because we have to go to the computer and take the fine off and
Yeah, I was just trying to.
update the account. So
I thought one of the
so it's gonna
objectives
save
is
a lot
make
of
it
time.
less work for the librarians and they can be
Yeah.
spending time on other stuff. And if we're really paying them to do that, in essence, the 8,000 really isn't it. You know, we haven't tabulated what it's cost us to pay that person to take care of the fines.
Yeah.
It may be equal to 8,000, we don't know, or whatever
It
it
might
was.
be.
So as a librarian, I would like to, like, we had I called Heidi over and we worked on this together, but we had a patron who had a $50 fine. It wasn't a lost book. It was just that she had not returned things on time and then hadn't come back to the library in a long time. So we had that circumstance. And then what do we do with foods for fines? Or is that just gonna go by the way?
We would still have food for. Yeah, we would still have like a
Our
food
food,
driver.
a food drive?
Food drive.
Oh, okay.
Right, and now that the books renew automatically.
Say it again?
Sorry, food for fines could be. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're losing revenue there already.
Right,
from
I was
the
about to
renewals.
say,
Yeah.
so is that already decreasing the amount of fines being collected because they renew automatically, what, twice?
I think it's
now?
decreasing once. It's decreasing
Once.
circs. It's decreasing circulations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because people are bringing it back in?
Well, for one thing, no, they're not. They're keeping it, which means it's not getting checked in and going out to somebody else. They get an automatic renewal, so then they get to keep it for 2 cycles instead of just one.
Do
If
we-
nobody's waiting.
Now, is that something is that mandatory? Why
You
did we-
can
why
you
did
can
we do
opt out
that?
because it's better for the patrons to not have to rush to bring it back, and because the circulation is not the only measure of library
Okay,
success
okay.
by any means, but it's still the thing that we tend to look at to see how well
It
we're doing.
is.
Yeah, yeah. So when I tell you that circulation for 2019 is down by 25%, there's
think-
several factors. One is
yeah.
that we were closed for several weeks. Another is that we're in a new location with no parking, and the third thing is that we now have had automatic renewals for 6 months. So we're not getting as many. So the books aren't coming
That
back
makes
to
a
be
diff-
checked
that
out
makes a
again from
huge
somebody else.
difference.
All of those things make a difference. Yeah, it doesn't mean we're doing a bad job because
No.
circulation decreased.
There isn't a way to tabulate how many times your circulated book has now been checked out twice?
There may be, but it's not something that they're offering on the statistics dashboard right now through CWMARS.
Because that would increase your numbers.
Yeah, and it was this was a question put out to libraries at Users Council. I don't remember what the vote was, but it passed because more libraries wanted to have a free renewal than not. So, and I mean, I voted for it. I think,
But
it's
it's
a good
not
idea.
counted as another book because it's the same book, it's the same.
Yeah,
book.
it also means now that the book that would have been overdue is not overdue anymore, so it's not accruing fines. So you're
Right.
losing fine revenue. So our fine turn in is going to be less anyway, because instead of having an overdue book
Okay.
because you chose to keep it and read it,
So
you got an extra 3 weeks and finished it and brought it back on time.
And how long is that renewal process? How long have we had that?
July started
Yeah,
in July.
summer.
So we don't have that. We just know that fines are down because of that. I
Possibly.
mean, you can't figure out like what. You
It
can't
could be a
project what
factor.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It could
I'll
be a
tell you, on many instances in the past, I'd have one renewal on an item, but I'd forget to renew it by logging into my account and clicking, renew, because I'd still want to hang on to it. not finished with it, and then I'd have a day or two of fines. I go, oh, I got to renew that, and I renew it, and I still have it for the 2 cycles, but now I owe some fines on it, right? So that's the kind of revenue
Yeah.
that you're talking about. We're not going to get
Yeah.
because it's just automatically done for you.
But it's great for the patrons
Oh, I
to,
love
to
it.
not have to rush it
Yeah,
back
no, I
and
know.
for it to be on.
I just hate to see our circulation figures go down, but
Yeah.
what can,
Yeah.
it's just part of it.
It's out. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
So, can we talk about the inclement weather policy next month since it didn't make it on the list for this month?
Okay.
Did we
I reviewed it.
we reviewed that one, right?
Well, you can
remember
add it
you.
right now if you'd
Yeah.
like to vote
Why
on it,
don't
but it
we?
is not
Because
on
we
the list.
reviewed it.
We already
Yeah,
did
I
it.
think
I'm sorry, I
I'd
didn't
like
check
to
your
add
agenda
that.
over.
The what? How
I
much?
didn't check your agenda over and I missed it.
So there's another policy
There's one more
that we need to
policy.
add.
We didn't
Inclement
have enough?
weather. It's okay. We can add
we
in
wanna
other
be-
things
we're
that come
trying to get a
legally
lot
before the
done
board
before
is.
midnight
Yes.
tonight.
Yes. So another policy that came to board review was the inclement weather policy, which we'd like to also vote on tonight. So I don't believe there was any changes that I felt need to go into it. I think it was well thought out, so it was good.
Yeah. I remember
It's nice to be reminded of what our policy is, so the trustees know what we need to do. And okay, so do I have a motion to accept the inclement weather policy?
I make a motion to accept the inclement weather policy and procedures with changes as indicated.
I second that
Second.
motion.
Okay, I heard Daniela second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you for reminding us of that one.
There you go.
Okay. Director's report.
Yeah.
It was a super busy month. Somewhere in here I have a PowerPoint about
Oh,
it.
I just saw it. There you
Is
go.
that it?
Yep.
That's it.
It's my favorite one of the year. See all the things I missed at the library in December. It's a very busy month.
So I got a scholarship that I mentioned. I mentioned the action plan that we submitted, that strategic planning has started. We launched a winter reading program, which I think has about 150 participants so far, which is about a third of what we get for summer, and it has 2 months to go. It's been very well received. And Allison was totaling the change in the jars when I left today. So part of it is it's Harry Potter themed, the house cup, where instead of getting points, you donate money, and dollar bills and pennies increase your houses.
Do you want to
Donation.
pass that down so we can take a look at it?
And putting silver coins in your competitors decreases. So Slytherin's house is at minus $200. And Ravenclaw is winning, which is
And
my house.
I've been helping that along.
So they keep throwing your change in the jars. The proceeds go to a capital campaign. But we've had lots of really positive feedback.
This is very impressive.
I've been attending construction meetings, doing collection development interviews, and we hired Allison Piccone. We started the staff review process, worked on the budget. Grafton Ukulele musicians had just 4 people in December, but we're back up to 8 or 9 for January.
Do you guys do holiday songs?
We did holiday songs and we had snacks and cookies. I think.
Oh, it was very
It was
good.
it was very nice. It was just
Very
me and Beth and Eric and one other person. But the kids liked the cookies.
Yes.
Oh, and Miss Jan brought a banjo-lele, which is an
Oh, isn't
awesome
that
instrument,
awesome?
and I think we need to buy one to circulate. We're partnering with an organization called Aunt Flo. They provide a branded box to put feminine hygiene products in, so that they're available for free in our family restroom. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. It wasn't very expensive, and I think it's a really good thing to offer.
Yeah.
People may donate supplies too, but now that we've got the box, we don't have to spend a lot to fill it. I worked a lot on parking lot and snow removal. We resolved our national grid issue, which was that, yes, they were deducting what we had paid as a credit, but we still owed the money for the bill. So we paid up the bill and we're up to date, and they're not going to turn off the lights.
Check mark. Love it.
I know.
How long did that take to resolve? How long was that?
Me and Eileen, 4 months.
Oh my God.
Both of us going, I don't understand why the amount we owe matches the amount that we say we paid. Yeah, well, the bill's apparently consistent.
Oh, that's funny.
We started fine tracking. I worked on the annual report. I did building maintenance. We had American Alarm come, and they said there was a fault in the line. Now, there was a fault in the line 2 months ago, and they just put the system in. So I made a little bit of a stink and said, if this is a faulty product, why are you back here again? And they waived the charge for the visit.
Yay.
Light repair done. We had a patron call who was looking for resources for her grandchild on autism spectrum disorder and was really concerned that they would be in trouble for coming to the library and being disruptive. And we're like, no, come. So that was just really great patron interaction. We worked on implementing a new replacement library card, coordinated with the Friends on their membership brochure, which we're now giving out to every new card holder. We don't have to say anything about it. We're just kind of slipping it in there so that everybody who comes to get a card knows for just $10 they can also become a member of the Friends. Worked with them on their summer reading program t-shirt fundraiser. We actually, I think in November, put bags up around the library with a price tag on them so that people know they're available for sale, so we can continue to move the nice canvas bags. And then they came in for Grafton Celebrates the Holidays, and Erin put a ton of book bundles together, and a lot of them sold, and what didn't has been sort of taken apart and redistributed so we can have some of that space for the t-shirt fundraiser that's coming. And then somebody from Off the Common Antiques donated a Where the Wild Things Are board. Where it's got a cutout where you can stick your head in
that
and
your
be
face in
Max.
there?
That is
Oh,
me. Yes.
Yes, I saw that.
So we're gonna have the custodian put some props on it so it's safe, because right now it was just between two chairs, and we're gonna kind of pull it in and out, and it can be just a drop-in vacation activity.
Yeah.
And then the
Donation?
last thing, this gentleman pictured here, you may know him. He's from Grafton, Peter Coronetta. He passed away the first week of January after a long struggle with Parkinson's disease. And he was apparently a library supporter and lover and reader. And his wife asked that in the obituary she lists the Grafton Public Library as a place to do memorial donations for Peter. So that went into the paper and was promoted through the funeral home. She came in today with another handful of checks for us. One particular person asked that we buy a particular type of book in his name, so we bought a new book on Parkinson's. And it's just we're going to put a book plate in every book. It's a really nice way to remember somebody, and it's sort of the birthday club idea too. You can buy a specific book for a person, but we're just set up a separate spreadsheet and are tracking it through the gift account. But people in town, they should be thinking of the library for memorial bequests, for planned giving, for wills and trusts. You can set up things through the town or through the Friends or with the Capital Campaign, and it's just a nice option to have to remember or celebrate somebody. So that was a really nice thing to happen right near the end of the year. For statistics, I mentioned. Why does that look funny? So we did this is just staff stuff, I guess. We did staff training. People did webinars, community CPR, volunteers, public libraries responding to, I think that was opiate addiction, basic PC troubleshooting, and then I was able to renew my passport agent certification just under the year-end deadline so that we can, oh yeah, your slides don't look like mine.
You guys did basic PC troubleshooting?
We did,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I love that.
Donna Bates Tarrant took it. Yeah, I'll go over my stats in more detail later. Children's services, super busy. This is a
I love that
STEM
muffin game.
program.
Yeah, my kids love that muffin game.
Yeah. We're still really struggling with Mr. Kim's program. Not with Mr. Kim, he's amazing. But people coming and not being able to park and then showing up at the end of the program because there's no parking. And we can't have it in the main space because Apple Tree Arts and Mr. Kim limit how many people participating, so we can't have walk-ins. It has to be a registration program. But if we put it in the room where we can kind of cap the registration, we can't fit as many people in, and we have to reduce registration. So his contract goes through May, and I think we're not going to renew it for October, November, December, and wait until we're in the new building to start over in the new space. And we'll still try, assuming we have program money, we'll do a concert with him on the Common like we do. We talked about having it off-site, but when we had it off-site, nobody came for multiple months in a row. And we have a parking issue still with people not wanting to park and walk. to get to either Apple Tree Arts or the Congregational Church or whatever on the Common. We could try it at Unibank, but that's also a small space with limited parking. So we may just go on hiatus for a couple of months for Mr. Kim. Teen program. This is one of the Harry Potter themed workshops where you created a model of a mandrake and then put a plant on top of it and enclosed it in a terrarium. This is just sort of an example of the programs that we're doing that
Yeah,
fit
that's
that winter
great.
reading theme.
What's the scale on that? Is it really, is it tiny?
That's like a
small?
mayonnaise jar, so it's not
Okay.
huge. It's
It looks very big.
yeah. Well, it's close up.
Neat.
Yeah. So if you haven't signed up yet for Harry Potter, it's not too late. Come in and do that.
How long does it go until?
Till March 31st.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Not too late for me to get started.
Yeah, and there's a program associated with each of the 10 tasks, but if you can't, there's only 10 tasks, right? But if like you missed the crystal ball workshop, you can still meet the divination piece and get that badge by reading a book set in the future. So there's a book option with a suggested reading list for every single one of those challenges.
Does Star Wars count? Right?
Yes,
But it's
sure,
a long
absolutely.
time ago in a galaxy far away. So it's in the past,
well,
right?
My son.
But it isn't.
it might fit under something else, another different
You
category.
don't need to figure that out right now.
No.
But sorry,
Heads-
I had to.
Adult services, I think Crescent Manor had less visitors, but lots more checkouts and fewer hold requests, which is, so it must be that all their holds came in because they had a lot last month and they checked them out. Museum passes, we're still having like 4 or 5 people not showing up or canceling. So 48 was a little bit low. We had 1 more volunteer this month, and they donated a total of 89 hours. I think it actually might have been more, but. We have a new English language learning volunteer tutor who is matched with students. 11 passports. Staff have been going through the publisher's best of 2019 books to make sure we own like the top 25 titles in every category. Using Hoopla, we had 3,000 circulations last year, which is pretty good. Heidi ran lots of book groups. We had Saturday afternoon knitters, and you saw the mandrakes picture. We're still using Wowbrary, which if you haven't signed up, it comes out in an email form every Wednesday to tell you what new books and magazines we have available, and you can just click through to the catalog to place your hold requests. The December newsletter might not be the best example, but one of the things that I think this is the whole month. When you get the weekly one, it shows you in a column on the left all the different categories that we purchased books in. So it's kind of become a collection development tool because I can look at it and go, oh, we didn't buy anything in the sports category or historical category. And I can look back a few weeks. We really need to add some things in that particular collection so that we're presenting balanced distribution. So that's been really handy. I guess this is where you can see the
Automatically
difference.
generated, does somebody have
It
to?
gets so somebody was doing it by hand, and we paid this company, I think it was less than $500, and they're pulling the information from CW Mars to see what we added in the last week, and it connects to the catalog to put in all the book covers and descriptions. So it's all this technology working together, saving staff time.
I think I'm going to reserve that right now.
And so if you go to, I think, wowbrary.com, it'll ask for your zip code, and then it'll automatically connect you to Grafton Library. And
I get it.
sign
I
up.
like it.
Yeah, it's really
interesting.
cool. So I bought a lot of nonfiction at the beginning of January. Another thing that's really interesting, I don't know if you can see, but it says that we bought 17 biographies and memoirs. One of the requests that we got in the suggestion box that I added in November was more biography and memoir. So, it was just one patron. But it is a category that circulates highly too. So like we tried to beef up in that collection. We had a request for robotics books. So that might be on another slide maybe, that we've added some robotics books. This is something that happened that's exciting with tech services. Since I came to Grafton, I have been asking if we could reorganize our CD collection, our music collection, by music categories instead of by a collection code. Because if you want to find a pop rock CD or a country CD, you have to look at this list and figure out what letter it is. Like you want jazz, that's under MJ, so that kind of makes sense. Music, jazz. But solo instrumental music is G. Chamber music is F. Vocal music is D. Bard music is, there's no correlation really. So you have to look at a chart to figure out the code to then go find the item. So Donna fine, said, I have time to do this. I will work on it. And we've started shifting everything over. So now we have categories. They're not in alphabetical order yet, but I don't know if you can read it. It says opera, and then it has the letter. Choral, and it has the letter. But the CDs now have the correct CD pop rock or CD classical, CD country, with then the artist name and then the name of the CD on the tag. So that's just going to be huge in terms of patrons being able to browse and find material.
It seems more like a record store format. I love that.
Yes.
That's perfect.
And I'm hoping that in the new building we'll have bins,
Yeah.
like CD bins. So
Oh,
that's why the
that's-
label's in the front. They're not meant to go on a shelf. They're meant to be face out, so you flip through them like a record album.
Right. Oh, nice.
That'll be nice.
Yeah. This was a really nice comment from somebody in the public about our summer reading program and the beating and how great it was. We had 10, the 20th of December, 10 comments about ice and the parking lot. A request for something for children, little ones, on Monday morning. Now we're already running a STEM and STEAM program at Unibank on Monday morning for older kids, the preschool group. And most of the local libraries are closed on Monday. So we've added a drop-in baby playgroup on Mondays. It's not staff facilitated. We're just sort of saying you can come in with your child and meet other parents with kids of the same age, and maybe we'll put the bubble machine on and provide some material, but nobody is running a program. So it's sort of an easy way to modify that. Heidi always gets lots of compliments on her costumes. So there's lots of that. Like the metal sculptures in the garden. My favorite place to shop, checking out the very small selection of used books that we have. I've been in here twice already today. Now I have to go home and get my food for Fines Food. But I don't mind. I love coming here. Thank you for making the parking lot so accessible with the snow. Great job with this place. This came out really nicely. You should stay here forever. Thanks for helping me fax. And what else can you get for just 20 cents? Our photocopy price.
Yeah.
Someone requested Banker and Tradesman. It's a newspaper. We don't subscribe. We get Investors Business Daily. And there may be access to this online. I haven't checked yet, but it could be available through the state. Somebody else asked about, somebody told us that the book sale finder website was still listing Down Under as open and available for taking donations and selling books. So one of the staff members emailed that website, and they've updated it. So that's great. Someone came in for a selective service registration form. You have to do that online. Someone wanted little plastic dividers to hold the book in case you want to put the book back after flipping through it. We suggested a bookmark. So these were all the things we had to say no to. We didn't have any robotics books for adults, but I know you love when I can do this. We bought some robotics books for adults. So most of the yes log questions for December were, are you open? Yes, we're open. Are you? Yes, we're open. Yes, we're open. Come down. And yes, you can renew an ebook, which you do by managing the title. When you're looking at Overdrive or Libby, click on the title, and there's a little manage loan, and you can renew or return early from there. You mentioned all the upcoming Friends fundraisers, and I think that's the end of my spiel for the report. For statistics, my December sheet, I changed the format a little bit because I just taught a class in infographics. This is a little prettier. Visitors is down slightly. Reference questions is down slightly. Cards was, I think, down. Programs was static. We did more passports, more notarizations, and more proctoring. One more volunteer, less computer use, fewer museum passes, and fewer new items added in December because we added a lot in November and a lot in January. I also took a look at the year in review because I need to think about the annual report. I think that I forwarded the note from Cindy Ide. It's due around the first week of February, and someone on this board needs to write an update of what we accomplished this year. So we have 18 staff, 120 total volunteers, 165 friends, 7 trustees. Library visitors is a 26, I think, % decrease from 2018. Circulation is only a 4% decrease. Card holders is a 7% decrease. Program attendees decreased 20%. Digital items increased by 2%. And physical items in the collection increased by 4%. So we're doing less weeding now that we have some more space. We had over 11,000 computer users, put on 553 programs, issued 108 passports, and a lot of those had a $35 fee associated with them. Notarized almost 70 documents, circulated over 1,000 museum passes, had a lot of volunteer hours. I did add in the down under hours that Aaron gave me to that. Over 5,000 reference questions. And what's that thing at the bottom? We were open 2,600 hours and 277 days. So it was a busy year.
Do you know when the annual review document is due for the town report?
I think it's the first week of February. It's soon. And it has to be like a Word document in 12-point font in two columns.
Yeah, I wrote it last year, so
Yeah.
I have a format
Yeah.
for that. I can write it again unless somebody else would like to exercise their writing skills. So,
So I met with Patty Keller at the high school in November to talk about a G-term project, which is a 2.5-day session where kids can opt into various interest groups to do a project. And she did robotics at the school last year, but she wanted to do something with the library this year. So we met again in January, and I said, what about infographics? Because we have this annual report, and we get it at town meeting, and it's all text. And there's really interesting things in there, but it's a lot of text. So what if we could take some of the information and turn it into an infographic like this, and have like one for the police station, and one for rec, and one for council on aging, and one for board of selectmen? Like, how many people did they appoint? How many licenses did they give out? What bylaws were changed? How many arrests were made? So Tim approved it, and he gave us a couple suggestions for departments to focus on. We're hoping that we'll get a couple, up to a dozen kids maybe who are interested, and I'm going to partner with her and the computer teacher at the school to start turning some of the annual report data into something like this as a project, probably in June.
And how does somebody volunteer for that?
Volunteer to run it or to participate? So the kids will have a whole list of programs to choose from, and then they'll say, I want to do this for my G term. It could be robotics, it could be
okay.
cupcake wars,
So
it could
all
be
the kids
art,
should
it could
be
be
having to choose
reading a
something
book.
for their G term.
Yes, yeah. So infographics. It'll take place at the high school and be a library partnership.
Great idea.
Yeah, and again, so I'm going to this conference about data and statistics that it's all just kind of coming together.
Great.
Yeah, but I'm really excited at the idea of being able to take a leadership role in this and make sure citizens have information about how the town operates and what departments really do and what we accomplish in a year, because it's a lot and it's impressive. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds good.
yeah, I'm a data head like most people, and it's nice to kind of see it in a nice, easy to read format.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. So our last item here is citizens input. Would you like to? We have one citizen.
She's learning about us and whether she would want to be a trustee.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, you have interest in the board?
Oh,
Yeah, you came in later. Later.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's Stephanie.
I thought you were going to speak to us. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Actually, I do have one thing that I was looking at. So I grew up in town.
Would you like to join
Come
us?
sit.
Oh.
You have to be on mic.
Yeah.
And Bill wants to go home, so you only have 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're teasing you.
Teasing.
No, so I grew up in town, and just recently moved back, brought property here. And when y'all were talking about some of the things that the library is now doing that obviously was not being done many years ago, I'll be honest, and I didn't know that the library was now doing half of it. And I have 3 children in the school systems. And so when you were talking about some of the things that are offered, I was scrolling on Facebook, and I was scrolling on the library homepage to see how easily accessible this information is. And I noticed that on like the main page, a lot of those links, like the events or what the services are down at the bottom of the page, instead of like up at the top.
On your phone it is.
Oh, on my phone. Yeah.
Yeah, the menu gets.
Yeah, so it might show up different on the
Yeah.
computer. Yes, so all of those on a phone, which I think a lot of people are probably looking at, they're out and they're running to the library, are down at the bottom. And then if you're on social media, like Facebook, the blurb about all of the new books that are like released.
Yeah.
And
Posted about that today.
yeah, so most of the blurb is actually hidden, and you have to expand it. And I think that website would be really great if that was highlighted somewhere, because I didn't know about it, and I would now I'm going to sign up so I can get like all those alerts. But it's sort of hidden, and you just see the face of the different books. So. That was just something I noticed really quickly. Yeah. So all of those.
One thing that actually I looked at this today, I said this actually should be an image map. I mean, well, we already did it, and it just feeds automatically. But I should be able to click American Dirt and get to American Dirt, but it just goes to the picture. It's not a site map.
Oh, I see.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we are talking about a website redesign to culminate with the new library, but it's the same company. So it might just be a matter of a different WordPress theme.
So I'm so happy you brought that up, because I too look at the library site on my mobile device, because you need that information, and you're not at home, and you might want to go to the library or whatever. But I noticed that the menus are very tough to click on with your finger, with the drop-down menus.
Yeah.
Because I was just trying to look at the library, the trustees page to see what our terms were, and to just like get that menu to pop out, and then somehow like get to the link I need to click on quickly.
jumps,
It
like,
just, it just
below.
wouldn't work.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I'm glad you brought that up,
Thank
because I
you.
totally forgot about that. Yeah. Okay.
Good.
It was very nice to meet you.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Stephanie Texera.
What was the last one?
Texera.
Sarah.
Yeah, I grew up in South Grafton and went through South Grafton Elementary School, and when there was an annex for the intermediate school, like this is where I went.
Do you know Bruce?
My uncle.
Okay, I know your uncle.
Yeah, all the Texeras in town I'm related to.
Okay.
All of them.
Good to know. Yeah. Thank you.
So would Karen know how to find you if, or,
Oh, please share your information with Beth,
Yeah.
if you're still interested in the library trustee
Yeah.
board.
Oh, that's wonderful.
okay?
Well,
wanna-
we need people for strategic planning.
Yes, when you
I'll email you the
Would
letter for you to
I
consider it.
was on the. I'm sorry. Is this still
No, it's fine.
recorded?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was on the board of trustees at Quinsigamon Community College, and my term just ended in the spring. And I was on. We went through our strategic plan and making it for the next 5 years, and then I just finished my. I did a term on the board of higher education for the state. And so we're reviewing all those strategic plans. So when you were just talking about it, I was like, oh, I've been doing that.
Oh,
I've
good.
been involved in that. Yeah, so
So we need your information.
all of-
right? You
Yeah,
can
so
all of
participate.
my
Yeah, I have her email and phone number.
yeah, and the reason I so we just bought property in the fall, and the reason I looked at the library was because I've been very involved in open educational resources for the state, and did a collaboration with the Board of Higher Ed, and actually just published in the New England Journal of Higher Ed on OER. So that was why I was like, well, I should look at the library.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. It's a great way to welcome
Thank
back to the community too, and back to town and get involved again.
But you want my
Yeah.
information as well?
if you would, if you don't mind.
Great.
I'd love to read your article.
Oh, okay.
Okay, great. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Okay.
Second?
I'm gonna say
Motion.
Daniela, Dana, Karen.
Oh,
There you go.
yeah.
At what
Okay.
time?
Motion made and seconded at 9:06 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Great.
Thank you, everybody.